Not the right 5, no. Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. This is our second one of these intimate readings. My name is Shwa Laytart, along with my wife, Sugar. We are the owners of Avantpop Bookstore and Avantpop Publishing. I will be your poet guide for this evening's readings. Our idea for these intimate poetry readings at the Office of Collecting and Design is to give a space for poets to read their work in a non-competitive arena. We also love this space that the owner and creative, Jessica Orrick, has designed. So special thanks to Jessica, who is hiding in the other room, I believe, for allowing us to be here. All right, good. Yeah, special thanks. Look at that. This is an amazing spot, so we're really glad to be here. Poetry, the word is derived from the Greek word for making. Poetry is a form of literature that uses aesthetic and rhythmic qualities of language. There are over 150 forms or styles of writing poetry, and new ones continue to be created by poets every day. Within these forms, you will find the muse that inspires the poet. This muse itself can take on many forms. Tonight, I will share a few poems inspired by one of my favorite muses, food. Or the lack of, as in the case of this first poem. Down to the gravy. The pinto beans are soaking. There's a quarter of a bag of rice. A can of green beans or corn. The wrappers come off, so it's your guess or mine. The chips and the salsa were the first things to go. Now I'm down to Tabasco and an overripe tomato. Plenty of salted crackers, and a box of powdered pancakes. I could do a little fishing, but hell, there's no clean lakes. Tortillas with butter, all out of fresh water. Barbecue, soy, and Worcestershire sauce, a container of bad goulash. Some mayonnaise in a jar, an empty mustard bottle, one old egg I won't eat. 100 pennies make $1. Some chicken in the freezer last Thursday I had for dinner. There's 3 beers in the refrigerator I think I'll have for lunch. Now, I wrote that one when I was in my early 20s. And everyone goes, oh, you were a young bachelor. And I said, no, I was broke. When I was even young and had money, I filled my fridge with food. I mean, I love food. Come on. So, our first poet this evening has poetry flowing from her at all times of day and night. Lashana, like many of our poets tonight, isn't always comfortable reading her work in large groups, which is a shame because Lashana's words flow directly into your soul while dancing and swirling in your mind. The upcoming Avantpop Punk Poetry Anthologine Volume 3 will have 3 of her poems. Fortunately, Lashana has joined us to read some of her work tonight. So please, help me introduce our first poet this evening, Lashana.
Hi, everybody. So, I'm going to probably be a little wordy, but I'm going to stick within the 15 minutes, don't worry. But this is my first time back on stage in about 6 years. So this is super special to me, and I couldn't be more happier than for it to be for Sugar and Shwa of Avantpop Bookstore. Thank you, Jessica, as well for providing the space. But so I don't have the best memory these days, so I'm going to be reading out of my book. But I will probably share the titles and a little bit of the backstory about each one. I'll open this up with one I wrote about 15 years ago, and this one's pretty special to me. So, okay, bear with me. I'm a little nervous. Okay, this is called Wait. And this is about how I feel time isn't always our best friend, I guess you could say. Time is an interesting beast, and it has comes with blessings, and it comes with it can take away and it can add. So here we go. This is called Wait. Wait. Soon. When the time is right, not right now, maybe later. There's not enough time. Your time is up. Next time. Time is an asshole. Mothers and fathers nervously anticipate the first smile, the first steps, the first words. As children, we count to 30 while As children, we count to 30 while secretly peeking through the gaps of our fingers at our poorly hidden friends given away by the sounds of their giggles. Wait. Soon. When the time is right, not right now, maybe later, there's not enough time, your time is up, next time. They used to tell me when I grew up I wouldn't be so skinny. You just need more time. They used to tell me there was plenty of time to take my time, so I took my time and I wasted my time. Time is an asshole. See, what nobody tells you is time is fickle, loyal to no one. Each day brings in a revolving door of something hell-bent on stealing your time. An abundance of choices or lack of choices. A sea of too many yeses and not enough no's, or too many no's and not enough yeses. Hurry up, too fast, go faster, slow down, stop, don't stop. And then, when time does stand still, and you're catching your breath nestled in the nothingness, you unexpectedly find that one thing that is worth giving up all your time for. So you move in closer, inhaling like rapid fire every drop of what that thing is, your heart so big you have fallen in love from a single instance. Only to be hit with wait. Soon. When the time is right, not right now, maybe later, there's not enough time. Your time is up. Time is an asshole. Thank you. Give a little bit of the rough start there, but all right, this next one is, I like to write a lot of short poetry. I don't have too many long ones. They're just fun, and this one's called Forget. This is about trauma, memories. They never really leave you. They're always just kind of there with you. Flesh peeled back in mindful haste. She cast aside thorny branches from fading aromas. Her mouth hits the ground, a bloody tongue searching for new taste as her back is mounted by the old ones. Thank you. All right, next one is familiar. This one, so this one's about my battle with mental illness, anxiety, and fear, and what it feels like to have that over me and try to maintain relationships, whether platonic or friendship, and how I feel it gets in the way. That rhythmic beating, everything. I feel its kiss in my ears and on my cheek, above my head and below my feet. Familiar is not a word unknown. I've known it for much too long. Your hands may tense, then recoil. Your lips may purse, then slip away. It's jealousy, it's not hidden. On display is the only way. Can we play a game? Can we pretend it's gone away? Beating, beat, be, until there is only me. Thank you. This is great. You guys are awesome. All right, so next one, The First Dance. I actually wrote this after crashing on the floor of an after party at my friend's house. Don't ask. And all the strangers fell asleep, and you know how that is in my young days. And so when I woke up, this was in my head, and I had to run home and write it down. It's called The First Dance. Our dreams spilling over that unfamiliar living room floor, engulfing the awkward proximity of our bodies, dancing freely in silence as our eyelids flutter, etched in my brain like the years of visible wear on your jacket. Morning light interrupts. An unassuming floor lies below shuffling feet, the imprint of two strangers vacuumed away like the lost backing of an earring or loose strands of dark hair. You know, you never see people again, you know, so. All right, this next one. This is about my social anxiety and awkwardness and how sometimes I feel like people see my physicality and I feel like, you know, when they get to know me and talk to me that maybe I'm not as exciting once I open up my mouth. When I can't connect spaces or lines, I trip over my words even though they flow steadily in my mind. Effortless thoughts can't connect with a stalled mouth. Imperfections looming while visuals entice. You'll come to me once, but rarely twice. This is a new one called Presumptuous. And it's about all the assumptions and just the ways we connect as humans and our biases and just the cycles of, I guess you could say, what we're all longing for, and I'll let it speak for itself. Presumptuous, aren't we, to hijack existence dutifully, to intercept frequencies, to force ghosts indefinitely, to stare at the trees, but ignore the leaves. You see, am I me? Or do I exist to feed your greed, your need, your pleas, your screams? From your emptiness that I call presumptuous, also affixed at your feet, so you see the cycle repeats. Thank you. Hide and seek. I feel that stinging again. Looking to my left, I swat at nothing. There's no time to stop. I can hear them coming. A chorus of footsteps that could trigger finger snapping. And for a split second, I consider being caught. Thank you. Ungrateful. See if I can make it through this one. I glare at the damp leaves littering the lawn, those thoughtless acorns landing hard with no regard to where they fall. Cold air slaps me across the cheek, grimacing between clenched teeth. I hate this place. Remember when we went for that walk? Sunlit, multicolored trees, curled fingers, your lips, that hidden drop. That pretty bright red leaf that I picked up to save and put in my pocket. I lost it. Thank you. Tired. This is about trauma. A cycle of stolen homes reverberating through lost innocence. Caught inside remaining hope that couldn't be completely erased. Though you all tried, and you tried, and you tried. Until tried became tired. Until tired became gone. Until gone became reborn. Until reborn became no more. Thank you. And last but not least, I'm going to end it with another new one, and this speaks to sexuality and my coming out, and as well as the perceptions I feel that people see of me as a straight passing person who is not. And so I wrote a little bit about that. It is IANS, which stands for I am not straight. What does it matter who I love if it's not you? If my heart will never beat to the tune of your fingers on my skin, then why do you care who I let in between my legs and let kiss my face? If it's not you who will have to face the stares and the hate? Why do you base my worthiness to grace your presence on what I find appealing, as if I'll be stealing off your plate if we can't date? Do you secretly admire that I may desire more than one presentation without hesitation? Or are you afraid that if I say I'm not straight, you'd have to ask for clarification? In a society that ends the conversation when nuance shows its face. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. Lashana, let's give it up again for Lashana. That was fantastic. Thank you. So glad you saved that up for us.
I did.
All right. Got a breather after those. Those were.
Sorry.
No, that was great. That was good. That was good. Well, sometimes poetry compares two things. Love and a rose, for example. Well, in this next poem of mine, I do my best to compare processed food. Or close my thought, but let's hope that this one brings you in. So, and this is, I was a chef for many years, and in my younger time. So, and with food, I think I got a little bit arrogant, because when people are eating terrible stuff, and then thinking terrible things. I, at that time, thought I had to tell them. And, you know, this was a little bit, this was my younger self here. Dried human hearts and stuffed human souls. Thoughts are packaged and sold like frozen food. Consistent precipitation of acid rain in the belly of our personal ocean, bought by the cartful. Who remembers watching the planted seed as it slowly blooms under the guided sun, developing anticipation for an immediate but timely harvestation? Then using all of the right spices, creating an aroma that makes your palms perspire. Butterflies flutter for freedom. Your mouth moistens like the end of winter. Placed gently into the fire, only to be pulled at just the right moment, knowing that every drip will be licked without waste and felt throughout the body. You create thoughts. You don't heat them up. So, a bit arrogant of my younger self, you know, but so a couple of things that I like. Two things that I love to include in my poems are satire or humor, and a stitch or two of activist spirit. Our second poet this evening, Janice Parker, has to have a satirical sense of humor as well, and an activist spirit during the day because she's a lawyer, which, as you shall soon see, carries over into her verse. 3 of Janice's poems will be found in volume 2 of our Avantpop punk poetry anthology. However, this is Janice's first time reading her work to a group, and she is no fan of public speaking. So please help me give a warm welcome to Janice Parker.
Thank you. So I am nervous and terrified to be here tonight. And I had a blurb that I was going to start out with, but I'm throwing that out the window because I was so nervous that I left my printouts at home. But my amazing husband just dropped me off and said, I got this. Went home, got it, and brought it back. So little thank you to my husband for making it possible to be here. So, yes, I'm new at this. It's my first time reading my poems in front of anyone. So this first one, I have 4 poems I'm going to share today. The first one is actually based on the fact that I'm actually Canadian, born and raised in Toronto, Canada. I moved to Las Vegas in 2015. So the first American political election I ever witnessed was 2016. And the first time I ever voted in an American election was 2020.
Oh, wow.
So needless to say, my Canadian friends and family were just constantly asking me, what is it like down there? What's happening? And I would say, well, it's kind of like a circus, like a topsy-turvy freak show circus. So this poem is called Freak Show. Step right up. Welcome to America. Leave your reason at the door. Beware the sinful sisters, born with immorality. They'll follow any freedom. Free thought, free love, free choice. Disgusting. Behold bottomless Bertha, constant thirst, enduring hunger. They pour in poison after poison, and she continues to beg for love and water. Ungrateful. See the eyeless heiress. Witness her create false hope through secular trickery. Yet she refuses to see the only faith. Her saviors have plucked out her eyes in her sleep. Yes, amen. Has the master entertained? Full payment is required. Place your soul on the collection plate. Thank you. So these next 2 poems are about mental health, which I'm very proud to talk about it because I think it's important that we talk about it. I have a therapist that I see regularly that helps me with everything from small problems to big problems to trauma. And one of the things my therapist had talked to me about is I have to communicate with my partner how I'm feeling, but it's very hard to do that when you're really in the depths of depression or whatever, despair. But he said, come up with a code word or code phrase so that when you say it, your husband will know exactly the state of mind that you're in. So I wanted to write a poem that kind of described what it felt like to be in there, and the title is the phrase that I use, which is Bad Neighborhood. I am squatting in an abandoned life. Nowhere feels like home. Hopeful ghosts keep me company in the silence of a frozen pendulum, a reminder that I have disappeared. I fondled the key in my pocket, turning it in yet another door. Was it the wrong key, or was it the wrong door? I squeeze through the peephole. I wander amongst the empty buildings, holding hands with my anxiety. I chase after the laughing boundaries, along infinite streets and infinite turns, still trapped in my bad neighborhood. Thank you. So this other kind of mental health themed one is a little more fun. My best friend was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and she was in the psych ward for a couple of months. And one of the things that they told her is that it's actually really hard to diagnose college-age students with mental disorders because a lot of the symptoms are actually very typical of what college students do. You know, you party all night, you sleep all day, you're not following through with things. So, you know, she was kind of laughing that it's hard to tell the difference. And I even joked about, well, this psych ward is a little bit like the dorm floor. You know, you order pizza together, you kind of hang out. So that's what this poem is about. It's called College Patient. Learned white coats huddling in the corridor like a flock of noisy birds. They cackled about her, their tiny new morsel. It's bipolar, the yellow bird cooed. Those ups, those downs, that abnormal heated arousal, that crippling darkness, then jumping off a boat because you think you're Superman. Schizophrenic, the old Doug quacked. Delusional flowering dreams, hallucinations hugging her to sleep at night. All those symptoms disagreeing with each other in perfect unison. No, 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 the penguin clucked. Borderline personality. Chaos is her only mood. Swinging across a neurological jungle of self-imposed cuts and the trailers of full-length relationships. They struck down the hall, puffing their chests, fluttering their feathers, while she sat quietly on the floor, ear to the door, laughs escaping her lips. It was not the time for therapy. It was the time for the weekly dorm pizza party. Thank you. So this last one is inspired by, I got outed as being an attorney. I was actually not going to say it. I was trying to be my artsy self. But when I was in Canada, I actually used to work for legal aid, so I worked with a lot of domestic violence victims. That was one of the things I did, and it was very rewarding, but also very emotionally challenging. But one of the things I feel like people don't understand is how hard it is to actually leave one of these relationships, because you have to leave behind everything you know. You have to break it down as if it's not there. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was writing this, which is called Escape. The house burned slowly for months, yet I couldn't smell the smoke. There were ignored clues, discomfort, longing, that silence. Hidden under false smiles and timely chores, it was all kindling, waiting for that single moment of bravery. I inhaled the smoke, I fanned the flames, I ignited the fire. He closed his eyes and dreamt of paradise and demanded that I close mine too. He chose flight, but I chose fight. With opened eyes, I ran for the nearest exit and locked that door behind me. Thank you. And that's it. Mine was a lot shorter, that's all I have.
Well, that was fantastic. I hope we get more of you, Janice. That was great. You're a natural. So you can see her you can see her in court, right? Just hammering it down. I was proud that you were a lawyer, because you're an activist lawyer and a good one, and that's impressive. All right. Well, for my last poem of the evening, I thought I'd leave you with something kind of humorous and saucy, and also about food. Just like I said. These nuts. They started out as a snack, but they've become the main meal. I'm having a hard time stopping the way that I feel. I need to be patient when handling a few. Some nuts are hard to crack, symbolically blue. A good solid nut takes work to get. I hope you're good with your hands and you're ready to sweat. Don't be ashamed if you need to use tools. Use everything you have to reach that sweet jewel. I could talk for days on the subject. I'm not allergic in any way. Nuts and I go back a very long way. Peanuts, of course, was my gateway to the richness of almond and the sweet cashew. Hazelnut, you know you're fine. But mixed with chocolate, you're absolutely divine. I like my nutty lovers just a bit toasted. Like those crazy chestnuts and macadamias are the best when they're roasted. Pistachio, you elegant high-class hoe, if only I could afford you. Like your nutty mistress friends, the pine nut and Brazilian, to nibble on all of you, I'd put the work in. Sunflower and sesame, you freaks, you're just seeds, but I'm down to get freaky if you want a nut butter for me. The creamy, the crunchy, the chunky, and the buttery, I'm so happy I'm not allergic to this rich, savory sluttery. So little humor there. Well, I'm excited about our next poet this evening. Sevin Lagat just got married, so it's Lagat now. Sevin. If poetry is painting a picture with words, our last poet this evening does their images in bright, textured oil paints. Trad's poetry leaves you feeling smarter than you were before reading it. For most of us who have a hard time understanding some poetry out there, this is a huge accomplishment. The imagery pulls you into the landscape of beauty and emotion, exactly what good poetry is designed to do. So without any further ado, may I introduce to you our final poetry of the evening, Trad Lagat.
Thank you so much. That was very kind. I've never done this before, so bear with me. But this poem that I'm sharing with you guys, I've never read or shared with anybody before. So it is very special to me because it not only is it kind of a fragmentary piece, which is just a really nice literary tool that kind of leaves you at a pause, but it deals with something that we've both been dealing with this past year. My mom passed away about a year ago, and her passing was symbolic in a number of ways, but it kind of ushered in like a transition for me and Zwei. We moved from Atlanta, where we had both grown up in the South our whole life, to Vegas, a place we had never been before, really did not know anything about. Different landscape, different culture, just a totally different world. So, yeah. So this piece is called Desert Jazz. And forgive me, I feel like the stuff I write isn't really meant to be read out loud, but I'll do my best. You died in the woods of February, surrounded by all of us, feeling torn and swept across the porch like the last of the leaves. Here we kept our roots warm in the soil for as long as we could, until I knew it was time to break free. The bite of closure twinkled with the setting sun on your last rotation, and from these familiar woods I crept west, to a blinding horizon I never knew, sculpted by frothy reds, layers of brown, and gorging orange. This pair of eyes of mine, wet and wrinkled, drank the landscapes clean, even as I craved the boughs of your phantom forest left for peaceful dead. It's here I've wondered if memories stamp the sand as they did in the wood, where my whole life was embossed in the earth as I remember it. Out here, against lonely shrubs and droopy dunes, I melt into the pink sunsets, your favorite color. No longer clipped by branches or shoots of pine, the sky seems to billow about like when you would drape a clean sheet over me, blooming high and mighty with delicate assertion. Behind every cactus, I've learned there once ran a web of water, soft enough to cut sand, and the windy rhythms of the canyonlands might carve a new cavity for me. I could breathe again. As she drips below the black mountains, the sun traded shadows for sandy cinder blocks, warm and tufted in the dusk. She brought a message with her, moving in the silence across the tundra, a little whisper in the wind, a crooked feeling taken by surprise. I watched, the sole witness in a crater of memories, curling around the settling black night like glowing flecks of ash. Mom tumbled before me, free and fleeing, uprooted and without bloodlines, no breaks or splits, just the anatomy of fire burning brightest in the desert night. I felt the wind, I felt her. The jet streams from yonder plains carried unspoken lullabies for me, covering my lashes heavy so that I might sleep, where tumbleweeds gallop sight unseen. A collection of some tree debris out here in the arid crossfire, a piece of me, of us, made it all this way. At once my heart lunges forward, trying to keep up, never to lose you again. And then my ears hear the feathers of.
Well, that was fantastic. And I want to thank everybody for sharing tonight. That was some really heartfelt, beautiful poetry. Yeah, let's give a big round to everybody tonight. Well, this is something that we are hoping to continue to do here at Office of Collecting, some little smaller, intimate poetry readings with poets that are not wanting the big, expansive groups. So I'm glad that you all came out. Tonight was very special because I know that the three poets that we had up we had to really talk them into coming down. You know, so yeah, let's think that we did. So we continue to do these here. We will also be doing the Poetry Arcade coming up, which will be more poets than we have here. And that'll be an event most likely at the Avantpop Bookstore or in the vicinity. And the whole concept is that the poets will read, and then the audience can buy tokens and then do a private reading in our podcast room with headphones. So that's an event that we have coming up. Excuse me. April 30th. Thank you so much, the organizer in the back. And then we will also be doing here for some of our grittier poets an event at the Red Dwarf, which is right across the street here on Vegas Valley Drive or Ave, which will be called Doomed Poetry. And this is going to be a little more of your punk rock, goth style, apocalyptic, with a little bit of hope. You got to throw a little hope in there. We can't all be doomsday. But that'll be happening here soon after the Poetry Arcade. So we'll hope, and it's great. So some of the audience that you may not know that's here tonight will also be reading at some of our upcoming events too. So you're in good company. I want to thank everybody for coming out, it's so great to hear these intimate small readings, and we want to keep doing it because there's so much talent here in Las Vegas, and we want to give them voice, and we want to pay everybody, but we can't. So we're hoping the Poetry Arcade will give a little bit of that, but at the same time, it's nice to have a space that is that allows poets to not feel pressure. No competition, and to also just read however they'd like, and we're glad to be able to produce this opportunity. So thank you all for coming out. Please, we have a little bit of time. We have a little bit of time still here in the office collecting, so you can spend some time talking, hanging out, cruising around. We're here to attend.